Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another screencast by your Earth Science teacher, Mr. Stano. And today we're going to look at the maturity of a landscape, whether it's young, mature, or old, based on how much that landscape has been weathered and eroded down by a river. The first type of landscape we're going to come to is a young landscape. Here, what we're going to see are the deep V-shaped valleys right here, and this is extremely important. What this is saying is that the water has been just kind of moving through these little spots, forming these deep valleys. So what we can see here is the water is concentrated in these areas. Still a lot of land left, and it kind of travels through, forming these deep valleys. And that's what we see here. If we look, all these valleys are very cut, steep slopes, and they're cut down in through the landscape. And we can see this one right on the other side of this ridge, another deep V-shaped valley. When we see those deep V-shaped valleys, it means it's a young landscape. Moving through into a mature landscape, what happens is now those peaks have basically been around a little bit longer and start getting weathered down a little bit more. So what we see is the rounded hill slopes right up on top. So you can see more rounded. The stream valleys are also more broad. The rivers had a chance to kind of meander back and forth a little bit, breaking down, forming these wider V-shaped valleys. And then the streams, like I said, begin to meander. And that's what we see in this Pennsylvania landscape. So you can see from ridge to ridge, you have this deep valley in between where water has been basically breaking it down over time. Continuing on with that, eventually what we're going to see is those peaks and basically those ridges getting completely worn away in an older, mature landscape. So here, mostly eroded to base level, so we're looking down towards like maybe basement rock or bedrock. Streams have low slope, right? These meandering streams signify low slope, and so they're going to be generally tending to move slower, like we see in this image right here. So here, this is a meandering stream. Notice we see no more valleys anymore. This is where the river can occasionally overflow and depositing sediment and moving through. So if we look at the four different stages, we can see them right here. So youth, nice V-shaped valleys. As we get into the more mature, you can see that they're starting to wear away a little bit more, rounding out, eventually moving through, and finally into an old. So this is a good diagram to have down along with those three previous ones, but this one is kind of nice. It shows the three major steps all together here. Eventually what we can have is uplift. The uplift can basically bring a landscape back to life. So if you look at those older floodplains we saw, or the older, more mature landscapes where they have the meandering rivers, if we have some sort of uplift through the tectonics that can bring the land back up, causing those rivers to come back and start carving V-shaped valleys again, like we see here. So we have those V-shaped valleys right there as that land starts to get more built back up. An example here is the San Juan River in Utah. Here we can see where the rivers have kind of meandered through a little bit, and then all of a sudden we have uplift and now changing those drainage patterns and then cutting back and downward into the landscape again. Humans have had a huge amount of influence on the topography of the land. Mining, removing whole mountaintops, okay, have negatively changed how landscapes work. We can basically change landscapes within basically tens to hundreds of years versus what nature can rebuild back up in thousands, tens of thousands of years. Here's like deforestation. So what you can see here is because this water now has basically nowhere to infiltrate, runs right off, and is going to start carving these V-shaped valleys, pulling sediment with it. Here's just another example, deforestation. Plowing fields removes that, helps pull away some of the nutrients, removing that topsoil as maybe winds will blow it away. So what we get this contour type plowing here to kind of remedy that a little bit. But looking at two different landscapes, basically an artist's rendition of what New York City would look like, the area would look like prior to development. So you can see massive differences. And so what we have is environmental planning and conservation can help preserve our soil, water, and air. Basically kind of looking at that information, what we can do to salvage everything, save it, conserve it, so that it keeps going on for future generations. And that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed this screencast. Take care.